every time I mention I'm an artist, everybody's like, wow, because it's supposed to be a fun job.
Right.
And it changes the way you see the world too.
Yeah.
But then when you have money as that big reason for why you create, it can get a little bit tricky. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You can lose yourself.
You can lose yourself.
Hey there, welcome to Entrepreneurs with Heart. I'm Adria.
And I'm Sydney, and we're here to help you build a rock solid business so that you can kiss that 9 to 5 goodbye and turn your side hustle into your dream job.
So, if you're looking for down to earth advice from someone who's actually grown a business from scratch to 7 figures, you're in the right place.
We got the scoop on everything from growing your online presence, nailing email marketing, and even how to build your team without losing your mind.
Right? Plus, we'll dive into content marketing, website hacks, social media tricks, getting more traffic, staying productive, basically everything you need to know to grow your business without going back to school.
So, if you're ready to take the leap and make your side hustle your full-time gig, hit that follow button and let's get this journey started. Welcome to Entrepreneurs with Heart, because we have them and so do you. And we're happy that you're part of our little episode.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, I think what we're going to chat about is one of our recent episodes we were talking about.
I had a moment.
Share.
So basically, I end up in this moment.
You did have a moment.
I did.
Oh, it was so touching.
I had to journal after. Realign.
I love it.
You have to realign. You have to
Yes.
let your feelings just be what they are. But I was explaining how, because we were talking about, if I were to, basically equating my art with money, and how that can sometimes, take away the fun when you're trying to create a product that somebody would like, but that also makes you happy and create.
Yes.
And no, it's been honestly so interesting. It's been a consistent topic for a while, like throughout different artists and stuff like that. And so, yeah, you connected me with Jalen to talk about, because I thought I would need like a brand refresh or something like that.
Right.
But so I actually have the recording, so maybe
That'd be great.
I just wanted to set up time for me and you to talk about who you are, what your vision is, what are some of the challenges or questions that you have right now, and how I can support you.
Yeah, so I feel like okay. So I'm an artist, right? And I create a lot of work that's surrounded by femininity, but very earthy, very fantasy, like all those things. And I feel like I create pieces that are really inclusive and that bring women into a beautiful yet empowering sort of light. Um, the thing is, my artist name has been the blind artisan too. So there's also this aspect of where I feel like I'm inspiring other artists, maybe with certain disabilities or things like that, to also chase their dreams. And then, so basically, for the last year, I had been doing social media to sort of get my work out there, and that's been really great. It's granted me some really cool opportunities and things like that. But then you know how Instagram be Instagramming and the algorithm be algorithm, however you say that. And so I actually recently switched over to long form content with YouTube. And I feel like I'm becoming more of I still on YouTube I share my art and how my journey with it and my insights and things like that, right? They're pretty much vlog based. So now I feel like I'm becoming the brand, which is nice. It's really great, but now I feel like I'm a little bit everywhere. And I think yesterday I got a little bit emotional because I felt like one of the things that's been getting to me is I'm torn between trying to create art that people will like, takes away the fun of creating art. You know what I mean? So it's a weird thing. I guess I need to solidify what my brand is. Kind of like with EcoSlay, people sort of fell in love with the sustainability aspect. And so that all then the farm to pouch all falls in line. So even if there's someone with really, really loose hair and Jello shot isn't their thing, they're still looking out for like EcoSlate launches and they're still a fan of the brand, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a little bit different with art. I have gotten like, notes or messages of people being like, "Oh, I just love you," and like that's, you know what I mean, which is great. But yeah, so now I just feel really weird and really torn, and I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah.
Wow, wow. Well, I definitely hear your heart in this because, like, as a creative, the I want to look up the definition of creative real quick because, like, I like really understanding words. But so creative, involving imagination of or original ideas, especially in the production of an artistic work. A person who is creative, typically in a professional context.
Mhm.
Um, when I think of creative, I think of somebody who is free and without bounds.
Mm.
Sometimes business can create restrictions
Yeah.
and boundaries, and that can be something that you find yourself working through. Would you kind of say that? Well, let me back up and ask you, what is the blind artisan doing right now to make money, or does it want to operate for profit? Like, what is the blind artisan right now in terms of the business aspect of things?
So I make money various ways. There's I feel like the top ways right now have been commissions and just like client work like that. But then there's also times where I get paid brand deals. There are times where I also like, so I also get paid from like posting on like threads and things like that too. So you know what I mean? Like I am in that realm of getting, it's weird. It's like a tie between getting paid to post stuff and then also,
Mm.
but also like people being like, "Oh, I want you to create this for me." Or like, you know what I mean? And then shop orders too. Like I have prints on my shop and hoodies and t-shirts and things that I make too.
Mhm. Tell me what the name blind artisan means. Like, what's your story?
So, when I like, so it all started when I was born. So I have albinism, and so I don't have a lot of pigment in my eyes, and because of that, they're very sensitive, and because of that, they weren't really able to like fully develop, and my eyesight is just like not very good. For the longest time, I was told that I was legally blind. Turns out, with disabilities, there's always this really weird gray area where you don't get the benefits of being legally blind, but you don't get to do things like drive and other things. So, yeah, so either way though, I'm visually impaired and my mom growing up would call me the blind artist because I always would just like I would like to draw. Like I've always loved to just like create in different ways. And so like when I think of an artisan, you think of like people who make different sort of things. And
Yes.
so like because I'm like making arts but like in different forms, like I heat press my own hoodies and I make all kinds of like different things. I don't like to put any like limit on the things that I like. I'm a very spontaneous person, I feel like. So I felt like the name the blind artisan could kind of, you
Oh,
know,
so many ways.
yeah, overlay all that. Also, when I was in art school, my last name's Mufuka, but then my art teacher, granted she was white, but she was telling us that like we should probably come up with like a name that people can easily pronounce.
Ah,
Um,
yeah.
and I get that because it also grinds my gears. Like I understand that my name isn't, is weird. So I went with that as that's kind of led into me going with that name instead of just like my regular name.
I love that. And in a perfect world, like if you have to think about what you would like the rest of the year to look like for your business, for your brand, like removing whatever stereotypes and standards that business sets or other people are putting on you or the pressure that you may be feeling, like what would make you happy as the blind artisan? What would you be doing? What would it look like? Like, what do you see?
So something that, and mind you, I'm a very like obsessive person, but the thing that I've been obsessing over lately and what would make me really happy is like really putting a lot of energy into my YouTube channel and just sharing my process. I think in a perfect world, it'll be nice to have a sustaining life off of just doing what I love, because I hate thinking about or worrying about if certain things will sell. It takes away the fun
Mm,
to me. And I've also noticed that, like, when I don't worry about what other people will like, it does a lot better. You know what I mean? So I think it's also like me getting in my own head of, self sabotaging a little bit, right? So I think in a perfect world, I would be making YouTube videos and getting like brand partnerships with that. So then there wouldn't be that extra pressure um to keep pushing out art that I hope will sell. You know what I mean? And that way I can continue to work on my craft and inspire other artists and all those things. And then I would also like to have more of like a local presence. I have my first artist talk tomorrow, which is cool. But I would like to do like
mm,
more artsy events where I get to know other artists and we share our stories. I just really
mm.
I want it to be just like, I want the money to just come, but I just want to just create authentically, you know what I mean? And be supported in that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like I hear you and I see that so much. And I think that's the most important thing. Like right now in life, what our generations are doing is we're rewriting all of the books.
Mhm.
And it's so interesting because God speaks to me like throughout the day or whatever he does with my brain. I just always call it God. But whoever it is, I get these little messages. And I got this message recently about the difference between like laws that govern the universe and rules.
Mm.
Laws that govern the universe, we can't change those. Like the law of attraction, we can't change the law of attraction. We
Right.
can't change the law of incremental activity. The law of incremental activity is that if you constantly do little things towards your goal, the probability of you reaching your goal is like 100% because you're
Mhm.
taking these little actions every day. So laws can't be changed, like of the universe, not like government laws, but universal law doesn't change.
Right.
Rules, though, that saying that rules are meant to be broken is so real because we can't control the law of the universe, but we can change the rules of business. We can shift the rules of business. And so what you're currently possibly feeling right now in your spirit is you see what the rules tell you. The rules are I gotta make art that makes people happy. I gotta meet these certain standards. I gotta X, Y, and Z. That's the rule. But your spirit is like, but wait, you can break these though. You
Mhm.
know, you get to create your own brand and your own standard that you actually love, that you are in love with, and that can change as much as you want it to change. I've been an entrepreneur for 9 years, and in the 9 years I've been an entrepreneur, every few years I change a little bit more, but I'm constantly pivoting. So we have to create a energy around your business that gives you the freedom to change,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And I think that's kind of why, even though YouTube is like an obsession, that's kind of why I went for that instead of like, for the longest time. And I, grew like 23,000 followers on Instagram.
Yep.
Um, but it felt very like fleeting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that like YouTube, like you see people's journey, you see them pivot all the time, and then being like, oh, I'm doing paintings, and they're like, oh, I'm doing sculptures now because I'm an artist and I do what I want. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I kind of feel like, and it's something I'm really enjoying. You know what I mean? Just sharing that, because I feel like with at least short form stuff and like just posting your work, it feels very disconnected. And I feel like between that and then having like in-person connections, I think that's gonna do something for my creative spirit in a way, how no matter how cheesy that sounds. So I feel like you're right. I think this is my form of pivoting a little bit, because I just have
Yes,
so much I want to share, and it's like beyond just a pretty picture that I post on the internet. You know what I mean? Um,
absolutely.
yeah. So yeah, I really resonate with what you said.
Yeah. I love the part about, and I think as an artist, artists need community. Creatives need community. We thrive off of community. We are inspired by community. Like, all it takes is for me to talk to one person and have a conversation and something clicks. And all of a sudden I have a vision and have this urge to do, and I have like this welcoming feeling and accepted feeling because other people get it. As an
Yeah.
artist and as a creative, you have to surround yourself with people who get it. And so I love the idea of you having more of a local presence. Um, I want to ask you this question. Do you see the blind artisan having a community?
I do. I think I do. Just like yes, I guess I'll just answer the question quickly. Yes.
Perfect. Like, so the blind artisan has a community. Do you see the blind artisan teaching, whether you have disability or the label has been put on you or whatever? Do you see the blind artisan doing any type of education or teaching people what you do, or do you feel like that would put pressure on you too?
I think that would put a little bit of pressure just because I feel like in the future maybe if I feel like I have more authority, but
Okay.
right now it feels I want to be able to be a trusted person and I would hate to give
Okay.
somebody the wrong advice or the say the wrong things because I mean I know teachers make mistakes too, you know what I mean? But yeah, I just I want to be a trusted person and I don't want to mess that up. And maybe that's just also a personal thing I have to get over.
Work
But
through.
I just think I want to be someone, maybe say things or be a safe space where we talk about like different things that maybe artists struggle with or different things that can help in certain periods of an artist's life, like whether you're feeling blocked or whether, you know what I mean? Like just certain things or whether you're afraid to share your work and things that have helped me. But I don't know if I would consider it teaching rather than just sharing personal experience and what's working in the moment, you know?
I love that. City, are you 23?
I'm 25.
You're 25. I look at me trying to cut off 2 years.
I know, I'm honored. Thank you. Yes, girl, I'm 23.
Me too. Okay. So like you're also in a stage of like you're in an evolution state.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I feel like. I feel like I just need a refresh, you know? I feel like
Hmm.
I feel like before when I started like putting my art out there, my intentions were different than what they are now, you know?
Hmm.
Like yeah, I feel like before like I wanted to be signed to an illustration agency. I wanted to like work in editorial and book illustration. And then now here I am just creating my own art and then of course like it sells sometimes and then I get commissions and then I get client work. Um but now I just feel like it's just deeper than art. I don't know.
Yeah. It's deeper. It's definitely deeper than art because this is part of your becoming. Like,
Mm,
one thing I've learned about being a business owner is that there's been no greater spiritual journey in coming to self and freedom walk than doing this.
yeah.
And there will be times where you feel like how you've been feeling lately, where you're like having that emotional shift. And I want you to know that that is not atypical. It is not something that you experience alone. It's actually a part of like the cocooning and the butterfly effect. And also it's a part of you operating in your truth. So like even as I just asked you those few questions, I asked you what would the rest of the year look like in a perfect world? I asked you, do you see the blind artisan having a community? And I also asked you, do you see the blind artisan teaching? Out of all of those things, the first question and the second question lit you up. The education question was like, and it's not that you're not open to it. It's just that where you currently are in your evolution, you don't feel ready for that just yet. And you also feel that pressure. So I think the best thing to do for yourself right now is checking your spirit. And when you are asked something, or when you're told something, or when a project comes in, like really checking the spirit to say, do I feel pressure or do I feel peace?
But it was a very comforting conversation, especially because Jalen has been an entrepreneur for like 9 years. Um, and she was basically saying she doesn't think I needed brand refresh. She says, "Girl, you're just emotional. Your feelings are just like feelings, and that's normal feelings to have." But she talked about how it's important for me to be transparent with my audience, and I don't think I have been.
Do you remember, it's like back in one of our early episodes, one of your action items was to be more transparent with your audience. Do you remember that? It was so hard for you.
It was, but that was on imposter syndrome, remember?
Yeah, that's right.
And I feel like I did a good job, but I think that's something that's really difficult to do. I think, especially in this world where, like, sometimes it's like the people who are transparent are very, like, out there. Like, they almost come off like they're so extroverted, they just, like, share everything. Right? And so it's kind of find that happy medium that is very much me, that, I have to find my own level of being transparent. I don't want to be like extra with it, but I also just want to be like real, you know? And I think it is difficult to be your authentic self sometimes when it comes to like your audience of people who may view you in all types of ways. I think something that has helped me a lot has been YouTube and posting there. Cause obviously I'm yapping a lot more on YouTube. But even with that, in posting my blogs, I'm like, oh my gosh, are people? Sometimes there's that thought in my head that's like, oh my god, people are gonna think I'm like cringy for like, you know what I mean? And a lot of times, people who have followed me on other platforms are like, girl, I loved your video, and I feel like I'm like, oh my god, even after me like not being the most, because here's the thing, like my Instagram, and then we'll get back on topic.
No, it's fine.
My Instagram was very much based on being like the super positive person.
It was.
And I'm not, always.
But it really is. But you're right. But that was like a goal or like a break.
Yes, to spread positivity and to like make people smile and to encourage people to chase their dreams. That'll always be my goal, to encourage people to chase their dreams. And so, like, to show bits where I'm feeling uncertain and where I'm not feeling super positive, it almost feels like, you remember when we went to see the Jason Mraz concert, right? There was a point, I think Hannah, my sister, I think she was doing her little research or whatever, and she found, because a lot of his songs are about love and positivity, but even he expressed like how he feels like he can't release music that isn't super positive, and that isn't because he feels like that's what his demographic likes. And for that reason, it seems like he doesn't really release new music all that often, because when he's not feeling that way, he's afraid of people being like, oh my god, what's this? Especially because he literally has an album titled Love. It's so good. It's a good album, by the way. Like, and I get, like, so I think, but I also think that, like, people knowing who I am will help me show up. I think it's a domino effect, because when you show up as who you truly are, I think that then the imposter syndrome kind of goes away a little bit, because you're like, they know that I'm socially anxious. They know that, like, I don't feel positive all the time, and I feel like not great about my work all the time. And also they know that, like, if they feel certain types of ways, that, like, it happens to a lot of people and that's what to relate to. I think there's a lot more benefit to being yourself and being like real than not. But anyway, so I think like when Jalen gave me that suggestion, it was like it rang a bell, because I was like, oh wait, I guess I have it, because like really what I've done so far is sort of like promote my YouTube and like promote that I'm like going on to like these different platforms, but I never really shared why that's happening. And then even with my Zodiac series, like I stopped at like Taurus about a year ago, and I kept trying. I've done different varieties of Gemini, but none of them felt like good enough to me. And so like there's a halt on my Zodiac series, which I know a lot of people probably were following me for, but I never told them why that stopped. You know what I mean? Like just like different things, like just being open. And I think being open, being like, hey, look, I'm an artist and, you know, I just want to, like, the lyric series was giving me a lot of pressure and I got a little bit scared and I got intimidated. Or, like, hey, like, I'm not feeling fulfilled posting as much on Instagram, but I do post on my stories because I love you guys. So, you know what I mean? Just having that.
Transparent,
Yeah.
open conversation.
So if you want more consistent posts, follow me maybe on Threads or follow me on, like, YouTube.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the thing. Because I also think with that, it can also help with like loneliness too.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times we can complain about being lonely, but then like no realize that we're not really putting in the effort to open ourselves up to not feel that way, right?
I think it makes a lot of sense. I like everything that you're saying. And I do think that that's the problem with social media, especially on Instagram. You get like the 45-second clip.
Yeah, the short form.
Because all you're doing is you're getting the end. You're not seeing necessarily the process or the emotional thought that is behind it. And then, like, because of that, you just see someone looking fabulous. You don't understand all the takes you had to go through, everything you get. Then you just say, like, and then you start to feel bad about yourself. Like, well, why when I did it, I had to struggle for 3 hours.
Yeah,
you know?
and I think so between like I heard this saying so many times, like it's impossible to make genuine connections in 45 seconds.
Yeah,
You know, or under a minute or whatever. And I think that's really, really
it's really
true. And so I think having the timer, like everything's starting to feel like it builds up. Yeah, like having the timer on Instagram, so I'm not on there that much. I'm just kind of like I'm just doing YouTube and posting things on Threads here and there. I think having that has helped me like drive away from that type of energy too. But I can understand how, like, if you're on Instagram or short form stuff all the time and you're just seeing everybody living their highlight reel, it can be easy to feel
less than.
Yeah, but then when you go on YouTube and you see that transparency of different artists, people being in a funk, you know what I mean?
Right.
There's this artist I followed who was so bubbly a year ago, but now she's going through her little angsty hard rock phase, but she's sharing it. She's letting people know, like, I'm not feeling right, but I'm sharing my little journey just so you know, like, it's up and down, and these are my opinions, and like, it's just a phase I'm going through. I think it's important because then you feel like less alone, especially being an artist where you're like always really like secluded and stuff. You know, I think it's really, really important. I think, and I think it was a good conversation that I had with Jalen because it felt like we talked about my goals. And I kind of want to like share those too. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. So like my goal, I think, is kind of going more into I want to be able to more like a personal. I want to have like different streams of income that don't really rely on like shop and commission things. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
Which is why I'm like really trying to tap into YouTube because I realize like, I mean, I love creating art that I love and I don't want that to be stripped away. So I'd rather like build up an audience on YouTube where I can get like Squarespace, the platform I use. I only know this because, you know, I got the inside scoop from like my successful like influencer friends. Yeah. But they have like yearly contracts where like you agree to post like to share a little Squarespace ad a couple times a month. Oh, and you get that consistent like you know what I mean. This video spot they sponsor like 2 of your videos a month or something like that. So like you know what I mean. Like being able to be sponsored by different things so that I can keep on sharing the messages that I want to, but then still feel supported and then still have my passion projects like the temporary tattoo design, right? But like relinquishing, and then also I love commissions too. I think it's just really the issue was creating individual art pieces,
that and has to appease
to everyone, and then when it doesn't, feeling kind of sad. You know what I mean?
But you're right. If that's not your bread and butter, that's not where all your money's coming from, then it can be more like a passion project. And then you like, but you don't. And I just feel like, and then like I want to do more of those sip and paint events. I really, because my thing is like, I think I realized, and we'll have to maybe reevaluate my values from like last year, see if things have changed. But I really value community and. Sorry. Oh my god, I'm not gonna get emotional in another episode. It's okay.
But it's stuff I really care about. So like talk about it. I really value like just everyone, even people who don't feel like they're artists, like coming together and like exploring their creativity. Because I think it's like even if you are like a project manager, an accountant or like somebody who does more like regular things, and you're like, oh, I can never be an artist. I could never like I think that there's something really powerful about exploring your creativity no matter like where you are. That's why people do home projects, you know, on the weekends and stuff like that. So like I just think it's like an essential thing for everyone.
That's great.
Yeah. So I think
It's a
more
good value of yours.
yeah. So I feel like and I know it's a value because it's making me emotional. Like that's something I really,
it makes you come alive.
it does. It's something I really care about. Like I care about that over selling like paintings.
Yeah.
I'd rather have my house be a gallery of all my work than like worry about because there was this. So I went to this artist talk yesterday, and I get it where he was coming from because if you're trying to like that's all you're trying to do is like create art and sell it, you know. But there was a person who asked like, okay, because she was a photographer, and she asked like, so to you visual artists like painters, how do you know when a piece is finished? And one person who was like actually like who hosted the gallery for us to have our pieces in there, he was like, oh, a piece isn't finished until it's sold. You know what I mean? And you could kind of see, and I understand because I'm like, because it's like, oh, well, now you got to make it a piece to people. Now it's like the marketing. I'm like, a piece is finished when I say it's finished. Right. You know what I mean? But that's just my personal opinion. I understand that everybody approaches their art differently. But I rather, like, I've worked on this big piece I'm working on. I already have someone who's like, oh, when it's done, I want to buy it. I'm not holding them to it, by the way. You know what I mean? But she is a repeat commission client. But like, I rather create art, and if it speaks to you, that's great. But if it doesn't, I don't mind having it on my wall.
And having a ton on your wall, and that's a good thing.
I think it's like it's something that makes me like really happy.
I love this.
So I think like so again, back to talking to Jalen about all of this, like we were just talking like we went over like what do I value and where do I see like these streams of income kind of coming from. And my so far my YouTube channel, I understand like for me, I think this is great.
It's doing great.
I think it's doing great. Like I'm, you know, getting a consistent number of subscribers every week, like maybe 100 each week, which is really good to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's like people who just watch my video, they're like, I want to subscribe to this person. That's really cool. So I feel like then it's a matter of time. Then boom, AdSense is there. Then boom, like people who are looking for channels to promote their businesses, you know, they'll have more trust knowing that oh, she's been posting really consistently. So you know, I just feel like that's gonna take a lot of load off, and then like the community events of like doing like sip and paints and just like painting with everyone is gonna take. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's kind of where I'm going. And of course, I'll have my website with like the different launches, but I feel like that will take off a lot of potential pressure.
Stress.
Yeah. And even maybe adding subscriptions to there too. That might, like with what we talked about.
Right. It's all coming together. It's like it's all weaving together.
It's all weaving together. Yeah. So, like, and I like the idea of their like, and then, like, you know, I still also get paid for posting on social media, like posting on threads and things like that. So everything, it feels good that, like, it's getting to a point where everything is coming from all kinds of different directions. But now I kind of know where I want my focus to be. Yeah. And I want my focus to be on more uplifting other people and inspiring them to create too. And yeah, I think I care about that a lot more. Yeah. And I think that'll help me enjoy my art.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and it's a good time as we're winding down the year to think about, you know, your values and are you still in tune with them and things you want to tweak.
That's something I'm gonna revisit for sure because I think that there's certain things that like I am in tune with. I think like at that I feel like my mindset is already different than it was like a year ago. Like 8 months ago. So I think that'll be really cool to like check up on and see how I feel about that. But definitely community creativity are definitely
they're up there.
They're up there. Yeah.
Cool. That is great. That's eye opening. And it makes a lot of sense too. I love that conversation with Jalen helps you kind of tease it apart how you can still get your fulfillment from your art, but not feeling that it's directly tied to making other people happy for you to survive.
Yeah, you know, because that's a lot of pressure. I think everybody's happiness matters. Of course, I think you need to provide value to have like a solid business, right? But I think that you have to find remember why you started. Yeah.
You know what? It makes me sad what that artist said yesterday.
Oh,
Finished to us, so
it was last week, but yeah.
yeah, that makes me really sad.
Yeah, to be fair, it's that masculine energy too. You know, black man, you can only I can only imagine how much maybe pressure because he's also a father. So like, so I can
So we
understand.
get it.
I get it,
Man.
but to be an artist is to just like every time I mention I'm an artist, everybody's like, wow, because it's supposed to be a fun job.
Right.
Like it's supposed to be, and it is. Like it really can be to bring your vision to life, other people's vision to life, and then to like keep growing your skill and it changes the way you see the world too.
Yeah.
But then when you have money as that big reason for why you create, it can get a little bit tricky. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You can lose yourself.
You can lose yourself, and you could be creating for your art to become less authentic because of that. Because yourself is literally the reason why your art is so unique and why it speaks. You know what I mean? Otherwise, it's just going to be really hollow, in my opinion. Right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think that's really important. And I also like again when I mentioned it before, I feel like my work does better when I don't even try. Yes. Recently, I posted on because I kind of limited Instagram, and I'll let my followers know because transparency is key. But I limited Instagram to being this platform where I use it more as a portfolio now. Yeah. So like, guess on Sunday I posted a reel, and I was just turning around one of my most recent pieces, which was a passion piece of my pet snake and I. So pretty. And we were just painting together because we're working on it. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. So, and that one did better than most of my reels in the last 6 months.
That's crazy.
And that's all because I think there's it's kind of so interesting. It reminds me of the books that you've been having me read, The Secret, and then the other one that I'm reading. What do you remember the title? We'll link it below. But they're all about I know it sounds woo woo, but our whole world is woo woo. We're in a ball floating in the middle of space. It's woo woo. Right. If you told somebody that, would they believe you? After you can be experienced, dude, I was on this floating ball. There were mountains and volcanoes. Right. And look at all this woo woo. But the point is, I think that there is something really beautiful about just trying enough. You know what I mean? And not because there's this idea of if you're forcing it, then you're kind of putting out this energy of you have a lack of versus it's all coming to you.
And scarcity versus the abundance mindset.
Yes. And I think that in our especially this Western society where it's very individualistic, where we want more and more and more, I think it's so easy to get into that more scarcity. Yep. So I feel when I was posting all the time, and it wasn't passion anymore, and it wasn't fun. It was giving scarcity.
You are so right, and you know what? This is so great. I'm loving this conversation because we were talking about this the other day too. How a couple of our favorite folks on social wisdom shout out.
Check out his page; it's so good. Look, every time goosebumps. Goosebumps. And you want people to talk about that about your pages. Yes. You know what I mean? Every time you show up, you show out, even if it is once a month or once every blue moon. They just know when you come through, you're gonna pop off.
There you go. And for me, love him and Operation Nikki. Yeah. Content just amazing. She releases maybe a post or two a week, but it's so good. So maybe, because what we've been taught is that you have to post on Instagram several times a day. But really, if you're posting several times a day, you're really posting quality content?
No.
Are you really?
Because I think about it, I look back at my old content and I feel very it's so sad. On Instagram in particular. I feel kind of hollow.
Yes.
Because I know I was just doing it
for the algorithm.
Yeah, and I think it's because my values for me, I understand, if you're trying to go for growth, then, sure, whatever, you know what I mean? That's your thing. But I think having your value, I know for me, I had 23,000 followers that felt, very lonely. There wasn't any connection there. So I don't think I value growth. I think I value connection, community. I think those are the things that I value. People feeling seen no matter where they're at in their creative journey, right? And so for me, I feel like I was going against the grain of what I really wanted, but what I thought I wanted.
Right. And the beautiful thing is that if you really are your authentic self, then eventually you'll get the follower count, you get all that, but then there'll be people who you actually want to be engaging with on a regular basis.
Right. People who actually like you. So then when I like posted this post
and know you.
And know you.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what matters. Because I feel like it's so easy, again, with like short form or like just creating content that you think people will like, and so content that is very authentic to you, is that like people will like that perception of you that you're trying to give off versus the real you. So even though you have this following of people, they're not, you can still feel lonely because it's not really,
that's not, because it's not following you.
Yeah. So I think it's authenticity, transparency. I think the thing that we need the most is just like humanity. You know what I mean? Over everything.
Man, this is good.
Yeah. So I think those are my takeaways from Jalen's conversations. Like, if you're feeling, I mean, I think being a small business owner is always going to feel really up and down. Because literally that day I reached out to my friend, who is also a small business owner. She owns a little bakery, does a little market.
Cute.
And I was telling her how I was, feeling, and she was like, "Dude, I've been feeling the same way today." You know what I mean? And so it's like a really common feeling to feel like unsure of yourself. And I think it's always going to be up and down sometimes. But then everything works out. But I think just knowing your values and being really firm on what you want, and what you want can change, right? Because there's always what you think you want,
right?
Yeah,
and that's okay. Because oftentimes to find out what you really want, you have to. I mean, and you grow and change anyways, but often you have to go through that journey to find out what it is you really want.
Because what I thought I wanted was 100,000 followers. You know what I mean?
But that's not what you want.
That's not what I want. Actually, like when people look at me in public, oh my God, why are you looking at me? So like, if there was 100,000 people, you know what I mean? They'd be like, whoa, yeah. So I think it's just, and sometimes you have to get that thing that you thought you wanted to realize
it's not what you wanted.
Yeah. So it's really cool, and I think as I like dialed back and started like redirecting my business, and also talking to Jalen and realizing that I'm not alone in my feelings, that they're normal. And especially because she's someone who's like worked with your business, but worked with other people's businesses too, so like she's seen it time and time again.
Yeah.
That's been really good. It's been really good as far as like working with her, because she's really helped me feel more aligned, and also not crazy for wanting what I want. Because sometimes I feel like I have to follow someone else's like module. You know what I mean? But I feel like all of our needs are completely different. And so like really putting like, because like she just asked a series of questions of like, do you see yourself teaching? And she was like, oh, I see a little bit of tension there. Oh, because I don't. I don't. But like, so like just asking all these different questions to help us both know. Because like surprisingly, like, I mean, we're both on the same page. I don't know what I want. You know what I mean? So that was really, really, really nice to like talk to her and to,
she's so great. And we're going to have her on the podcast.
Yes, in the next episode, she's going to be our guest, which is super awesome. And I'm excited for you guys to meet her, because she just has really good energy. She's amazing.
She is nice. She's brought all these nuggets.
Yes, and I think it's going to be a really beautiful conversation. Yes. So hopefully you guys tune in for that one.
So what are your action items, girl?
My action item, I think, my biggest one, well, two. I have two big ones. My number one biggest one is to realign with my value. Well, actually, I guess
if you need me to help with that.
Okay. Because I just want to make sure, like, because maybe I lost sight of them. You know what I mean? So it's just like knowing what they are.
Or just so you know, like one of our original values was kindness, but then over the past year, I've noticed I've tweaked it and said that the value is community.
Oh, but that kind of like ties together.
Right, so it's helped me like refine who I want to be kind to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so you may just have to just like refine it a little bit.
Yeah, that would be good. Maybe I'll also just take the quiz again and just see how my answers differ.
Right.
So that's one. I feel like they're both number ones. They're both A's. But my other one is to like be open with my audience, especially on Instagram. Like I feel like Threads, they know what's going on.
And that's
Yeah. But I think Instagram, I don't think that they know what's going on. I think that they just know, like, oh, she's promoting her YouTube channel once a week and she posts on her stories. But oh, she's posting less. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
I understand.
I don't think they, and you know, I think what's been hardest for me to actually like phrase it properly because I don't want, because honestly, it's not, Instagram was not the problem. I honestly just see it as something that was kind of inevitable for me to like. I feel like it was, again, it's gonna sound a little, but I think it was like kind of the universe telling, like, because it's always been like literally for the last few months, YouTube, 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 and me just kind of put together, let's see, I'm gonna do what I'm used to. You know what I mean? Which is short form.
You remember once again, what about a year ago when we on the podcast, we were like. And you was terrified to do your YouTube post. Remember that?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yes. That wasn't even a year ago. I think that was like what, earlier this year, maybe like February or something.
But yeah, so it's been a long time coming.
It's been a long time coming. So like, and then my mentor Chloe like saying you should tap into YouTube. I'm surprised you don't have a YouTube channel. Like so many things. You know what I mean? So I feel like this was all like, I feel like Instagram had its place, and I want to put that out there. Like Instagram has helped me open up because I remember before I was, I mean, even in public now, I'm like, oh my god, people see me. But on at first, like with Instagram, it was I was afraid to be perceived. That helped me get used to being seen and get used to making videos and putting myself out there. And I think that was a step towards like me actually getting the confidence to like actually make longer form videos and be authentically myself on a different platform. And I think it's really cool that like, and then I feel like it's God being like, all right, like you got me comfy in this step. Now it's like, let's shoot a little bit into like YouTube so that you can, because I feel like every time I think about YouTube, I know maybe I'm not romanticizing it. I love making videos and I love putting it out there, and I just feel like that's just gonna give me the community that I need.
It was a missing piece.
It was the missing piece. But I also
and
feel
you fought it so hard.
I did. And also I felt like at first I was making videos where I was like trying to teach people. And I realized
you're right, that wasn't the way.
That starts to me weight. I'm like, oh my gosh, now like the architect mindset, like everything needs to be perfect before I do anything. Right? So it's all been kind of a journey of figuring out like what works for me and my business and what I want for my business. And I think that's a beautiful journey that I've had the honor to like go on. You know what I mean?
So exciting.
I know. So it's like, I guess I know I've been yapping about myself this whole time, but I think and maybe I actually have some questions for you. But I feel like the takeaway for me from this is like it's all a journey. I think that like just because you get comfortable in one area, it's a beautiful thing to look ahead and be like, what do I really want to do? What do I really want for my business? And is that providing it for me? And it isn't always like a money thing. Sometimes it's more of a purpose thing. And I feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm slowly. I remember. Oh my gosh, I know this is our 1 year anniversary. It just feels like everything. Okay, so like I remember like a few months ago, like maybe in January, we were talking about purpose, right? And I didn't know what my purpose was. And so I feel like I'm slowly figuring out what, I don't know what it is fully yet, but I feel like I'm closer to figuring out what I'm good at and who I can help and the people I can touch and the people I can encourage to like do something. So I guess my question to you.
I'm gonna say something first.
Okay.
I think what's also amazing and insightful is that if you were to look at just these little points in your life, then it can get lost and confused, you know. But then once you're able to kind of take that step back, and then you see that it's like it weaves into a beautiful story. You know? It's like a classic can't see the forest for the trees type of situation. You know, so at every moment in isolation, and it's easy for us to kind of get caught up and dwell on that. But then just taking that minute to pause or just be patient and see how it unfolds, you're like, wow, there was actually purpose in this and beauty in the chaos and in the journey.
Yeah.
And had it not been for those hard times and struggles, then I wouldn't have come out on the other side like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. If it wasn't for Instagram acting up and me and us doing this podcast, right? Because I feel like this podcast has been like, if it's not a blessing for you, which it should be,
It's been a blessing.
It's been a blessing. It's been a blessing for me in particular because, like, I feel like having the mentorship to like go and get, the importance of having a mentor, right?
Yeah.
And getting external, because like if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have touched YouTube for much longer.
That's so true.
Or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or even our values, I wouldn't even know the importance of like why we should have values, the importance of having a purpose outside of oneself, and that purpose, you know what I mean? Like of like what you do, having an impact on the world and stuff.
All those things.
Yeah, all those things happen from this podcast, along with like the different steps before that, me like kind of having an idea of like who I admired, what I wanted, but just not exactly knowing how it would all fit together. And even though there's still some missing pieces of the puzzle, it's just like it feels like you said, like the frustrations feel like it was worth it.
And you know how it feels like. So you know how when you're doing a puzzle, like a real physical puzzle, and at first just kind of
sorting the areas,
and then you kind of get the board together, and then that moment, and you're like, oh, I see what this is.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And then although you're only like maybe 40% done,
you're getting
there, like you know, like oh, this is a tiger, oh, it's on a tree, and so when you see a piece, like I know where that goes.
Yeah.
That goes over here somewhere. Right? Yeah, I feel like that is where you are. So you don't have all of this figured out, but when something comes toward you, you're able to recognize it like, man, that doesn't belong in this puzzle.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or like, no, this does belong. I'm not quite sure where it goes yet, but I'm gonna pay attention to this.
It's right here in this
exactly.
file.
Like, I'll wait for it.
Right.
And that's exciting.
It is exciting. It's really good. It's exciting to kind of have it feel like you finally have some sort of
a direction.
A path. And it's like before you're just kind of walking, but now like there's a light.
Yeah.
And you're like,
light.
yeah, and now you're like, oh, that's where I'm supposed to go.
It's exciting.
It's really exciting because then I can do more things like that. You know what I mean? So do you feel like there has been a time in your business, maybe when you were starting, where it felt like you or like a chicken running around with your head cut off?
Oh my god!
And but then somehow, with you, sustainability has always been like the home cooked vibe, like all of that has always been a thing. But now you've got the farmers, you've got the recyclable packaging. You know what I mean? So what was that turning point moment for you in your business?
For me, it was when we started working with the farm to grow the ingredients, because that to me was validation from God that all of our values were the right ones for our business, because it literally checked out the boxes of sustainability, ingredient integrity, education, and community. Like every value was embodied in that farm partnership. And so it was like the confidence that I needed, like, yes, this is a direction, and now I know what to say yes to and know what to say no to. So now I feel confident, because like prior to that, I would get asked to be on a podcast or asked to be in a magazine, whatever. And maybe it's about curly hair, which obviously I love, or beauty, obviously I love. But like now, when I'm asked to be on a sustainability podcast, even if there are only a few subscribers, like that's what I'm saying yes to.
Yeah.
If I'm asked to be a sponsor for Sustainable Fashion Week, that's what I'm saying yes to. If I'm asked to partner with these group of farmers that are doing something cool, like that's who I say yes to, you know? So it was that partnership that just validated that these are the right goals for my business. And what's great about that is that it affirms that the goal is not money, you know? It's those other things that are so much more important.
It's the impact.
It's the impact.
Yeah.
That's what makes you feel good at night.
Yeah, the impact that you're making, where people can, number one, feel good about purchasing not only a Black-owned business product, but one that is like made with love and care for the planet, and like, you know, like, and I think that's a really, really good thing. Like people feel good supporting you.
Yeah, and that feels great. I feel like we have our people, and that's important too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys' homework assignment is to see, like, number one, evaluate your values. What are things that you care about in your business?
And you guys can take a look at, and we can put a link to the previous podcast episode too about values, and you'll see the exercise that we went through.
Yeah. So find your values and also just evaluate like, how your business is working for you. Take a minute to like reflect on like all the steps that it's taken for you to get to where you are, no matter if you're at the beginning stage and you're making your website or you've been established for a few years. We would love to know how your business has changed you and your perspective on being a business owner. Yeah.
That's good stuff.
And leave it in the comments if you want to.
Yeah, we want to know.
We want to know. We want to talk with you guys.
And I've been so excited to be in a lot more comments too on the it's been great.
Yeah, you're
chiming in. So it feels good.
It does feel good.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I guess we can end it here.
Let's wrap it up.
All right. Well,
Who are we?
Oh, we are entrepreneurs of heart because we have them, and so do you. And we will see you in the next episode with Jalen. You don't want to miss it.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Entrepreneurs with Heart. If you're watching on YouTube, drop a comment below and let us know what your takeaway was. Or if you're listening, take a screenshot and share it on social media with your takeaway. If you would like to leave us a review, head over to your favorite podcast app and give us a 5-star rating. This will help us reach more small business owners like yourself, and your feedback helps others find our show.